So, we're here at SAND, Science and Non Duality Conference in Italy, and I'm here with Peter Russell. So we're going to jump straight into the questions. What key events put you on the path for the quest for truth?
For me there wasn't a key event. I think it was always there and it gradually morphed. It was always a quest for truth. I mean, back when I was a teenager at school, I was always exploring philosophical questions, the mind-body problem, why is there consciousness, and I think it just gradually evolved. And to begin with, my quest went into science and physics, thinking that was going to answer all the questions. And then I realized, no, that physics didn't tell me anything about consciousness. And so I moved into other areas, and I started meditating, went out to India and studied meditation in India. And it's like all along there were openings, there were realizations, there were insights. So for me, it's been a gradual unfolding of many little events that just, and continuing to be little things, you have some insight or something happens or somebody says something. So it's been like that for me.
And what have been the most inspiring things in the development of your own current paradigm of reality telling? Perhaps some key figures from...
Yeah. Well, when I started meditating with the Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, and his teachings remained with me.
Is that Maharaj?
No, the Maharishi. He was one who brought TM to the West. The Beatles.
In Rishikesh.
Yeah, in Rishikesh. That's basically, he was teaching Advaita Vedanta from the Shankar tradition. And I think that deep understanding still inspires me today a lot. I've also drawn a lot from Buddha's teachings. So Buddha, although he's not living, I think has been a major inspiration in my work. But also, I remember reading Walter Stace on mysticism, where he wrote a book in the early 60s on mysticism, and that was fascinating because what I had begun to see there was a common element to all the world's spiritual traditions. I was brought up Church of England. I went through the process of confirmation when I was 13, and that basically deconfirmed me. I just thought, this is a load of bullshit. And so I rejected religion completely. And yet, through that whole exploration of really Indian philosophy, began to see, hey, there's something there behind all the great traditions. What is that? What is that kernel of truth? So that's been the motivation all along, really, to try and distill out that kernel and get it in its simplest form, and then share it with others in the simplest form as possible, without any of the mumbo jumbo that's accumulated over the centuries, just in contemporary language.
I spoke with Tim Freak, the philosopher, a couple of days ago, and we touched on the ego, and he said that the ego is a constant spiritual companion that we shouldn't try to get rid of. Whereas a week ago, I interviewed Dr. Naram, who's probably the most famous Ayurvedic doctor who treats the Dalai Lama and treats Nelson Mandela, and he said that he has trouble still with his ego, and the ego should be considered an enemy. What are your thoughts?
I'm much more of the Tim leaning. But you see, we use ego in many different ways. I think that's part of it. So when one person said his ego is getting in his way, that may be true from how he's using the word ego. Well, the way I use the word ego, I don't even like the word actually because it's a noun. And it implies there's something in me that's actually, or I have another sort of, what it is, another self that's operating. When I look inside me, I just find me. There's just that sense of me, that sense of being, that sense of I. And a lot of the time that gets caught up in egocentric thinking. So I see there's an ego mode of thinking, not a thing called the ego, but there's egocentric thinking.
You call it the default mode network in neuroscience.
Yeah. And that's there to help us. That way of thinking is basically the ego mode is about being in control of the world, making sure everything's okay, and it's a sense of self that's based upon the body. It's about keeping the body, the organic system going, keeping it alive, keeping it safe. And so it's a way of thinking that underneath, that's its goal, to keep things safe. And that's absolutely necessary in life. So it's a very useful thing. But what happens is most of us end up in that mode of functioning 24 hours a day when maybe we only need it 2 or 3 hours a day. And so we get lost in that ego mode of thinking. So it's basically an ally that's got out of control. And so when you see it that way, it's not a question of getting rid of the ego. We don't want to get rid of it, but we want to be able to recognize when it's operating inappropriately and then step out of it. And stepping out of it really is just saying, let me not follow that way of thinking. I don't need that way of thinking. Let me step out, pause, and just come back to my essential beingness.
It seems to me like a lot of mental disorders come about from too strong an association with the ego. And Eastern philosophies, they often state that we're not our ego, and the ego is just another being within us.
Yeah, that would be a slightly different sense of ego. That would be your sense of a separate sense of self, which I see it comes along with that way of thinking. There's a sense of a separate sense of self, and yeah, and that can be dominating and lead to a lot of problems. Yeah.
Now I want to touch on Western medicine. It seems like a lot of medicines that are used to treat mental disorders are only marginally more effective than the placebo effect, whereas shamanism and holistic approaches seem to be far more effective.
Yeah. I think that's true. Yes, and also sadly, a lot of Western medicine, something like 30% of all medical cases in America, I know it's very similar in Europe, come from previous medical treatments. So it's not only that they're not so effective, they actually often create their own problems. But then again, the same could be said of some shamanic practices. Some people, have negative reactions, if you like. And, again, there's contraindications about certain sort of people may not be suitable for certain shamanic practices. But yeah, the placebo effect is absolutely fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. That just our belief in something can create, in certain circumstances, such profound shifts in the mind, body, neurology, physiology.
Going back to your studies at Cambridge, you did mathematics and physics, right?
Yeah, I started off doing mathematics and then moved more into theoretical physics. And it's only a difference in name, actually. At Cambridge, the syllabus for applied maths is the same syllabus for theoretical physics. They're the same thing. And I made that shift because the pure math was just getting too abstract for me, which is the root theory and all this stuff, which was just like, I couldn't really relate to it. It was the applied maths, is things like relativity, quantum theory. It's like how maths applies to the actual universe as we know it. And my fascination really was with the relativity theory. Yeah.
What, in your opinion, are the most promising theories in physics, especially in establishing a new shift in global consciousness that we so desperately need?
What I'm actually fascinated by, if I turn the question round a bit, is that there are no real new theories at the moment that are bringing everything together. We have a state in physics where we have many, many unknowns, more unknowns than ever, and many possible theories. Dark matter, dark energy. Their hypothesis, we maybe got it wrong. Maybe they don't exist, and then there's different theories as to what they are. Or, coming down to the quantum level, there's many different models of what's going on there. And we've never been in that situation before. We had some anomaly, like, the radiation problem from the sun, and Max Planck came along with his solution. We had quantum physics. We had the problem of the speed of light, and Einstein came along, we had special relativity. There are no major revolutions happening. There's lots of different theories, and none of them apply universally. There's nothing that stands out. Oh, this is the right model. They all look partly right and partly wrong. And
we had Jude Cunningham talking yesterday about the holographic universe.
Yeah.
And that seems to me to be quite a promising theory to amalgamate everything, especially string theory. But once again, there's no evidence for any of it.
Right, it's the mathematics works, and yet intuitively, is it true? It's the same, with multi-universe theory. The mathematics works and seems to indicate it, and yet intuitively, there's something wrong with it. And I think the reason we're not getting anywhere is because we're not including consciousness in physics. And consciousness is, by which I mean just the fact that you and I are experiencing. It's the one thing we cannot deny. We may question quantum physics, we may question the reality of this room, we could all be sitting in a virtual reality set right now. Even if we were, we couldn't. The fact that we are experiencing is undeniable. Now, physics, science generally prides itself on its predictability. Any scientific theory that is valid, you test it by seeing does it predict the world correctly. We have a whole worldview, a whole paradigm in science which does not predict awareness. Nothing in modern physics predicts that you and I should actually be having an experience right now. So the current paradigm fails abysmally in the act of prediction. It doesn't predict the one thing we know to be true. And so that says to me, we're not really going to get anywhere until we have a new paradigm that actually includes awareness in some way or another. And you can see the hints that needs to be the case in quantum physics, the fact that somehow the act of observation or measurement somehow affects reality or changes it. Again, we don't really know what's going on, but that says to me, that points to the fact we've got to include somehow the fact of observation, experience, has to be part of the model and a fundamental part of it. We need a paradigm that's not only like space-time, matter, energy, mind. They all have to come together in one model, and that I think is going to be the way forward. And that, in terms of for the globe, how this affects our global consciousness, I think that's what's needed, is some way of both recognizing the value of consciousness and how we can work with it in the world.
Do you think it could be in a way that consciousness could be a standalone, like an extra fundamental force, or it's literally the bedrock of all that exists?
I think it's the latter. If it's another, if it's another fundamental force, it's something that could be known or experienced. And when I'm talking about consciousness, I mean the knower. The fact that you and I are aware, and we're aware of this room, but also aware of physics and the equations and the concepts of space and time. So if it was another fundamental force, it wouldn't be consciousness as I'm thinking of it, which is the very fact that I am experiencing. And so it's experiencing that needs to be included. And I think the model has to say that that is the bedrock, or a bedrock of the universe, because it's not only just you and I are experiencing, the dog or a cat we assume is experiencing. That's why we give a dog an anesthetic when we operate. We want to make it unconscious, so we assume it's conscious. And then there comes the hard problem of, if you believe that consciousness somehow comes out of matter, you've got to explain what it is about a certain configuration of matter that gives rise to this totally different thing, which is experience. And that's the hard problem. If you say it's to do with the nervous system, then you say, well, okay, fish have got nervous systems, so they're conscious, but does a worm have a nervous system? Where do you draw the line? And I think ultimately you cannot draw a line anywhere, because as soon as you draw a line, you come up against the hard problem. Below the line is just physical matter. Above the line, magic happens, and there's interior experience. And that's all you're doing, is pushing the hard problem down. So I think the way the hard problem dissolves or disappears is by pushing the line all the way back to nothing, and to say the potential for experience is in everything. Or even that isn't correct. The potential for experience is everything. And as it's more complex, and we perceive it, that we perceive that field of knowing as matter. And so ultimately, space, matter, time, energy, they are in our perception of this field which, who knows what it is, but it must have the potential for awareness. So in that sense, it's close to saying it's the bedrock.
Going back to shamanism, there's many people who feel that ayahuasca can literally turn the planet round almost overnight in a very positive manner. Also, the spirits or entities that are encountered, some truly believe they're cosmic entities or botanical spirits or just deeper hidden aspects of our own psyche.
I lived through the 60s and was part of that, and we believe putting acid in the water supply will turn the world around. I think, it's another turn of that whole revolution. Yes, it's these openings are very powerful, and they're too-edged for people. Some people, they can be too disturbing, and their psychology cannot handle it. I think they're valuable really as internal healers. How much credence we give to what we actually experience is, I always question it. One can have the experience of being in contact with some entity which is connected with some plant or spirit or something. I don't like to take that too seriously. That is an experience. The experience is very, very real. But then when we turn that into an ontology and say this is actually real out there, I think we should be cautious of doing that. It's more, how is this experience opening me up? How is it healing me? And the ultimate mystical experience is really one of dropping out of all experience, of dropping out of the ego mind we were talking about, the thinking mind, and even dropping out of the perception. We can have wonderful perceptions with these sorts of things. But ultimately, it's about coming back to our own deep sense of being. And that's why I'm interested in these ones that actually take us back to opening up to who we really are beyond all form, all perception, all of this. And so sometimes they can be a distraction. They can take us into these other incredibly magnificent, complex worlds. And yet, are they just another distraction? Sort of subtle form of spiritual materialism, taking us away from our true essence. So it's not, as I say, I think they're incredibly valuable, but just to be cautious about how we interpret them. And just for me to see their real value is that deep spiritual, mystical value, recognition of one's own true identity with the essence of the cosmos.
Do you think we as a species need to let go of materialism? Both scientific materialism and capitalist materialism?
Yeah, well, they're two very different things, but yes to both. I mean, scientific materialism, as I was saying, does not include consciousness, and so that has to be expanded, a new model. So in that sense, we have to let go of that very limited view of the universe. And obviously, materialism in the capitalistic sense, it's not just in capitalism, it's there in many societies. I mean, the old communist systems were very materialistic. They just had a different way of distributing the material or getting wealth or whatever. But I think we have to look at something deeper. It's what is behind materialism. And what is behind materialism is a belief system. It's really this ego system we were talking about before. It's the belief system that says, in order to be happy, I need the world to be a certain way. I need to be in control of the world, have people behave a certain way, have certain things, certain opportunities, certain experiences. And that way of thinking is a materialist way of thinking, which is continually reinforced by almost every aspect of our society. And by any advert is saying, you can't be happy as you are, you're missing something, get this, buy this, do this, and you will feel better. What they're recognizing there is ultimately what we're looking for is to feel better. And this is what every spiritual teaching has said. Ultimately, we're looking for happiness, peace of mind, call it what you want. And what they've also pointed out, it's the seeking out there for it that actually covers up our own natural peace of mind. I believe the mind in its natural, unperturbed, unworried state is, almost by definition, is at peace. And we disturb that natural sense of peace through wanting this, thinking we lack this, or whatever it is, or getting excited about having something. We're continually veiling that natural sense of peace. And so the way to get out of materialism is not so much to try and change the thinking of society, which is almost impossible to do, it's got its own momentum, but to change ourselves from the inside so that we recognize that I actually don't need these things. It's not a question of curtailing the materialism, it's a question of opening us up to realize I can actually feel that deep sense of peace, quietness, joy, the things I'm looking for in material things, I can actually feel inside, takes away the motor of the materialism. And so you can, in a way, have the fulfillment of your desires without actually having to fulfill the desires. Which doesn't mean to say, we don't feed ourselves healthily, we don't, live in accommodations that are healthy and safe, etc. We certainly need to take care of ourselves, our physical environment, we need to take care of other people, make sure other people are living as good a quality of life as possible. But then realizing, once we have the basics, let go of that idea that having even more will make us happy. And it clearly doesn't work. Many, many studies have shown this. Once you've got the basics covered, having any more doesn't make you any happier. And all the wanting more actually makes us more unhappy. And so it's letting go of wanting, but it comes from that natural recognition that deep inside, I am okay, and I don't need these other things. And that's how we take the motor out of materialism.
I'm currently collaborating with several projects that are literally in the business of trying to save the planet. Mm-hmm. Now, in my opinion, I feel we need to save people from their own minds, and saving the planet would be a side effect of that.
Yeah.
What message could you give to people to help them escape the tyranny of the egoic mind?
I think it's actually very simple, and that is just to pause your thinking whenever you realize you've got caught up in it, as we do hundreds of times a day, to catch it, and not to beat yourself up, oh my God, there I go, my stupid ego, whatever it is. Is to pause. And we can all do that, we can all pause our thinking, and in that moment of pausing, we just get a taste of that, there's a sense of relief, there's a sense of, there's a greater sense of quietness or stillness. And the more we do that, the more we taste how it is, just for a second or two. The thinking's going to come rushing back. But to just pause and pause and pause and gradually get more familiar with that inner sense of being, the quietness and the peace that's there. Gradually that builds up and that becomes more attractive for ourselves. And so, again, it's not when we say the tyranny of ego mind, it makes it again somehow an enemy. This way it's saying, okay, it's there, but it's being activated too often. If I come back and just pause and say, here I am, and let me savour this, enjoy this, and then you're off again, coming back again, you're off again, coming back again.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Pleasure talking to you, Shamanism.